Hello and welcome to the Quantum Alignment Show. Good morning from Brisbane, Australia. My name is Carolyn Southwell. I am your guest host this morning on this platform that has been created by Karen Curry Parker, and we have the wonderful Cindy in the background doing all the tech stuff. So very soon I won't be able to see your comments and questions and things, and Cindy will be all over that. Do type your questions, answers, insights into the chat box on Zoom or into the comment section on the live stream on Facebook. And then that way Cindy can make sure that we see all your comments, and it helps you stay engaged, so you'll get the most out of today. And if you are watching the recording, hello, and I will endeavour to get back to your questions. We'll see how much we can get through today. Please do take a moment right now to just switch off any distractions that you possibly can, and get a pen and paper or some other way to take notes, because again, the more you're engaged, we know, the more you'll learn and the more you'll remember. So let's share screen now so that you can see today's presentation. Okay, so as you listen and watch along today, I recommend that you watch out for the one thing that you most need to learn today. Now, if you can just walk away with one thing that's most useful for you and apply that to your life, your business, your relationships, then this class is going to be a good use of your time. Forget what we learned in school of like you have to take all the notes and remember every single thing. If you can grab one thing that's really impactful for you and apply it, that can change your life. You're not going to know in advance what it is. Just keep your heart and mind open to see what you need today. All right, so let's dive into the slides. What we're going to cover today is who this class is best suited to make sure it's a good use of your time. Who am I personally to teach this class? Why this class could be a good use of your time. What is an empowered projector? How do you become a more empowered projector? We'll look at your questions and some frequently asked questions, and ways you can work with me if that's something you wish to do. Now, a quick note on the language. Those of you who've come from a traditional human design background like myself will find we use the word projector a lot. If you have come through Karen's work more recently with quantum human design, you're used to the name Orchestrator. My default, because I've been doing this for a while now, is to use the word projector. If you love the word orchestrator, every time you hear the word projector out of my mouth, I want you to imagine I said orchestrator. Got it? Okay, great. I'm going to assume that's a yes. So before we dive into the content, I want to know, who are you? If you can type in the chat box, which human design type are you? Now, I imagine we're going to have lots of projectors, but maybe you're another human design type who loves a projector and you're here to learn about how to help them become more empowered. Fabulous. And where are you in the world? If you want to tell me that, we're all in different time zones and different locations around the world, which is super exciting about this platform. Now, if you are a projector, please tell me, what's your inner authority? So are you an emotional projector, a splenic projector, a self-projected? What is your inner authority? And how long have you been following or trying to follow your unique human design? That will help me understand how new or not new you are to this content, and I can direct the content to make it most useful for the greatest number of people today. And what's the most pressing problem you are facing right now? Hello and welcome to everyone, and I'm glad that we've got such a strong response today. If we don't get, I just want to say, especially because you're all projectors and I know that individually you would like to all have a shout out. As much as I can see you right now as I look at the camera, imagine I am seeing you individually, that I am appreciating every single one of you and your individual configurations. And I would love to be able to take each of your individual questions and work with them. The things that I was hearing in there, Cindy, people wanting to get in touch with their inner authority, wanting to know how to communicate with their projector that they love, struggles with burnout, struggles with launching something new and building their business. Was there anything major that that you feel like came out in the most pressing problem that people said they had, Cindy, that jumps out at you, that you know is a really common challenge for projectors that you want to make sure I've heard before I go on?
Well, this one just came to my attention. The biggest
Yeah.
challenge is having regret and bitterness that keeps cropping up. It seems to keep me from living my purpose and finding satisfaction and success. I have
Okay.
heard that a lot.
Yes. Okay. Good. Thank you very much. Okay. So water for Carolyn, water for you, Projector, if you need it. Thank you. I have heard everything from people being as new as 1 month to human design and playing with the work for 15 years. So welcome, whether you are brand new or whether you've been at this for a really long time. Let's dive into the content so I have as much time as possible to speak to people's individual questions. And hopefully as we go through the content, you'll see that some of your questions have been answered as we go. So let's see how we go. Okay, this class is going to be best suited to you if you are somebody who's been working with human design for a year or longer, so you have a bit of a sense of the basics. You're like, okay, I get a projector is this, wait for the invitation kind of means something like this, and I kind of know how to follow my inner authority, but you still feel like you're getting stuck. My intention is this class will still be a good use of your time if you're a human design specialist, especially of a different type, and or you're new as a human design specialist, or you are a different type and you don't really get how to serve your projector clients very well. So there will be some really useful info in here for you. If you are totally new to human design, I want to encourage you to actually go to my website, humandesignbasics.com.au, and look up the free intro to the projector or the entry-level projector beginners course. They are going to be a really useful starting point for you. So if you want to consume some of the basics and then come back and watch the replay, obviously you're welcome to stay, but my best suggestion would be get your head around the basics of what it means to be a projector and then come back and layer in this class after you've got that foundation piece, would be my suggestion. Okay, who am I? Well, I'm Source Incarnate, obviously. Who happens to be in this Carolyn Southwell body. I am a 2/4 emotional projector. I have the design of a teacher and a leader. That is my human design chart. For those of you who've been working with human design for a long time, you'll be able to see the teaching leading components there. I have been working with human design for more than 7 years now. I have been coaching people one-on-one and some groups for at least 9 years. And I have had lots of different roles prior to that. And I realize in hindsight, most of them were kind of guiding humans, which won't come as any surprise. Now, the point of this slide, I'm not actually going to go into it, is to help you, if you have me on a pedestal, which is a really common thing to do when you see somebody on a screen or you go, oh my gosh, they've been at this a really long time, or look at all their experience. Please, if that's how you feel, please take me off a pedestal. I am a work in progress, just like you. The point of this slide was to go, basically the summary of it is I used to be really, really, really bad at being a projector and being an empowered projector. And now I'm much better. And as I continue to implement the things I am teaching you today, I'm going to continue to become a more empowered projector. So we are all on this path together. And I have some insights that will help you. I'm not perfect. You don't need to be perfect. We just keep journeying towards greater empowerment. Got it? Okay, good. So forget perfect, imagine it as a continuum. I think there is a really big misconception, not just with becoming more yourself from a human design perspective, whether you're a projector or another type, but also in other aspects of society, of thinking that there is this destination, that if we just learn all the things and do all the things, then we'll get to the finish line and we'll be perfect and it'll be problem solved. There's no destination. You just keep getting better, right? So maybe you find yourself on this continuum as like, wow, I'm not so great at this being myself thing. And then you do some deconditioning and you clean up some of your bitterness and you learn to stand in your value. And then you go, oh, I'm doing pretty well. And then you keep deconditioning, you keep using the tools to become more and more empowered. And then you get to the point where you're on at my official continuum and you go, oh man, I'm totally nailing it. Fabulous. And then I just occasionally come along to webinars to remember that I'm nailing it and I'm doing okay, right? Wherever you find yourself on this continuum, there is no perfect. I see projectors who have done heaps of deconditioning and are new to human design, but they're already doing pretty well. And then I see other projectors who've been working with human design much longer than me, and they're still floundering, right? The point is, wherever you are right now, you are good enough. Grab whatever you can grab from this and other people who are teaching you useful things, and keep tweaking and implementing and improving. And you're just going to get better and better over time. Okay, why this class will be a good use of your time for all you why people, because there's a bunch of you. If you're a projector who knows what it means to be this type, but you don't know how to live it, or you're somebody who loves a projector and is struggling to be themselves, I know there's a few of you on here, or you're somebody who coaches projector clients and you don't fully get this type and how to serve them well, there's going to be something here for you. Remember, keep an open mind and open heart and see what that nugget of gold is for you. So what's an empowered projector? That's the whole point of this presentation, right? First, we need to look at what is a projector. Let's just cover the basics there. So the mechanics. The mechanics of your chart are that you'll have an undefined sacral. Now, if this jargon doesn't mean anything, don't worry. It means that you will not have a defined motor center, one of the zoomy centers that are like chakras connected to the throat center. What that means, if that jargon means nothing to you, is that in order for you to speak and be heard as a projector, you must be recognized, as in the other person must go, oh my gosh, I want to hear what you have to say. And usually often recognition will come with an invitation to speak. Example, you can hear me today because I was recognized within Karen Curry Parker's community and I was invited to speak, and now I'm in a position where I can speak and be heard. Simple. Okay, your aura projects, keyword, that's why you're called a projector. It projects energetically. It's like a hand that reaches out into the identity center, right into the heart and soul of the other person, of each person that you connect with, one person at a time. That's literally mechanically what's happening. And you are orchestrating greatness. You can orchestrate greatness, keyword, orchestrator, by guiding others when you are invited to do so. Okay, so that's our mechanics. Now, throughout this presentation, I have put in examples of well-known people as another way to empower you. One of the things that I found when I first learned about human design and being a projector, I really didn't feel very powerful. I felt quite powerless. And I found it really, really helpful when I found out that there were some immensely powerful people who'd done some very cool things who were projectors. So if you are very new to human design and you don't realize there are all these powerhouses in the world who are projectors, the point of these different looking slides is to go, oh, look, here's this person who has had a really big influence and has achieved a level of success that you might aspire to have, achieve. And they're also a projector. Okay, so Ariana Huffington, if we take any lesson from her, you will see that you can be a projector and you can be heard by a lot of people. If you don't know Ariana Huffington, you can look her up afterwards, Huffington Post and Thrive Global. Okay, part 2 of what is a projector. Your job in the world, from my perspective, this is the way I would describe it as a projector. If you have studied Karen's work, you know, projectors have a role of holding the template of what's possible. And I want to say that your job is not to have everyone listen to you. It's not to have everyone like you. And this is a key point. Like, if you can screenshot this slide, I really want you to take a photo and put it up on your wall. Your job is not to be heard and liked by everybody. This changed my life, right? I know that my job on this webinar is not to be liked by everyone on this, who's watching this live or on the recording. There will be some people who will look at this face and will hear this voice and they won't like me. They'll click away. They won't watch the webinar. They won't watch the recording because I will annoy them Perfect. They're not my people, right? Your job as a projector is to be discovered by your people, the people who naturally like you, who naturally want to listen to you, right? It is such an immense relief when you realize your job as a projector is not to have everyone like you. It's not to have everyone listen to you. It's just to work out, are you one of my people? Are you one of my people? Because if you are, then my job is to serve you in the only way that I can. So that's true for you as a projector. There are people who are going to listen to you, and there are people who are going to like you, and they're the people that you put your attention and focus on. Got it? Good. Okay, another example, Jeff Bezos. You might have particular opinions about Jeff Bezos. You probably know him as the founder of Amazon. His net worth in quotation marks, because I don't think that we should really use the word worth in relation to money. However, that's the term. If you want to think that wonder whether or not a projector can make a lot of money, Jeff Bezos is a good example. You can be a projector and make a truckload of money. It's possible. Okay, what is a projector part 3? How you do that job of serving your people in only the way that you can uniquely serve them. It's very, very simple, but gosh, I know it is not easy. Follow your strategy and inner authority. So step 1 is to really understand what your strategy and inner authority is, and like what it really means, and then start living it. And we'll talk some more about some deconditioning tools that will really help you to, it's one thing to know mentally what your strategy and inner authority is. It's another to be able to get your body to do it. Deconditioning helps big time. Okay. Now we had an example there. Taylor Swift, great example of an empowered projector from my perspective. Taylor Swift, 5-1 splenic projector. I know we have a lot of splenic projectors on today. You can be a projector and have created impact in multiple arenas before the age of 30. Taylor Swift is a great example of somebody who has found her flow and found her way of operating as a projector, and has been able to reach a lot of people by a fairly young age. So if you are young and wondering whether or not you can nail this or make a difference, Taylor Swift is a good role model or example. Okay, Cindy, I just want to check, is there anything that's jumping out at you that you want to share before I jump into this next section?
People are just enjoying the talks, and no, not the only question I've gotten, I'm not sure if this is a segue for you, but on Facebook there was a question or a statement that they need to learn more about how to decondition.
Okay, yeah, good. Thank you. Okay, decondition. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I'll make sure I cover a bit more at the end. Thank you, Cindy. If you're loving the work from Cindy, please give us some shout outs and high fives and loves in the chat box. We love Cindy because we couldn't do it without her. Okay, what is an empowered projector? A projector with a high sense of self-worth. Really, it's that simple. Empowered means you know your power. You stand in your power, right? An empowered projector knows their wisdom and knowledge is highly sought after. They know they have wisdom. They know that they have knowledge that is really valuable, right? They know that. So it's not stressful when people don't ask you for your wisdom and knowledge. You just go, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe I don't feel like teaching people right now. Maybe they're not my people, right? It's not stressful because you know, oh, I have all this gold in here, and when it's the right time, it'll come out of my mouth, and when it's the right person, they'll be able to hear it. Yeah. The empowered projector gets more invitations than you could possibly accept. Yes. Now, we don't try and hustle or get attention by being clever or funny or kind. Now, I use this example because the number of times in the past that I have tried every strategy under the sun to get attention, and I discovered for myself, and you can check in for yourself if you do this, is there a clever way that you have created to get attention? For me, I was really, really good at getting attention by like saying lots of kind things about other people. And all I was doing was really trying to make friends. Now there is a balance to be struck. You've got to know where your intention is coming from. So for example, do I say thank you to Cindy because I'm really grateful, or because I'm trying to get attention? Right now, only you will know that from the inside. Right now, I know my intention in that example, since we just did it, is to love on Cindy because I literally couldn't do this without her. Right. However, I have noticed there's been times in the past, and I have to still catch myself. Am I trying to get this person's attention over here, or over here, or over here? Or am I trying to get my family members' attention by doing something sweet and lovely? Check your intention. Yeah, because an empowered projector doesn't need to try and get attention. Your aura, your energy field gets as much attention as you could possibly want when you are standing in your power. And there's no need to try and manipulate or try and get power when you're feeling really empowered. I hope that's a good example. Okay. Now, the empowered projector knows when to do and when to rest. This is a tricky one. If you grew up in a family of generators like I did, or you just live in this world where we've got about 70% of the population that are generator alchemists or time bender manifesting generators, again, I would say I'm a work in progress with this one, right? So you just get better and better at going, the more you sink into your value of yourself, the easier it is to go, I want to rest, therefore I will. I deserve to rest. I'm tired. I'm allowed to rest. Or I'm going to rest just because I want to. That becomes easier the more you step into your power and the more you value yourself and see your own worth. And empowered projectors are unapologetically themselves, right? They're like, this is who I am. This is how I be in the world. You're either one of my people and you like it, or you don't, and that's okay. But if you're not one of my people, you go hang out with somebody else that you do like hanging out with, right? So there's no apologizing, there's just being yourself. Okay, so again, forget perfect, just imagine the continuum. Where am I on the continuum? There might be some things on that list that you're like, I'm not so great at this. And there might be other things on that list that you're like, I'm totally nailing it, right? Again, it's not this like perfect linear process. It's just this messy human thing of being alive. So just take note of where you are and then see what you need to do to get a little bit better. Okay.
Carolyn, there was, before you go on,
yes.
Katerina said, is knowing the when to do linked to other centers you have defined, or is it more using our authority to know when to do? Or is it a possible combination of both? That's kind of, I think that went with one of your, you know when to do things when you were talking about the empowered projector.
Yes, thank you, Cindy. So my best answer for that, and again, remember, this is only my perspective. So please remember not to have me on a pedestal and take my answer as the answer. But here is my answer to that. It is going to be a combination. So the timing is going to be influenced by the individual circuitry and which centers you have defined. So, you know, while most of us on this call are projectors and we certainly have a whole lot of things in common, every single one of us is subtly different, and that will affect your timing for when to take action. And following your inner authority makes a huge difference. I would hazard to say 80% is, in terms of timing, is if we want numbers, if we want to be nice and logical about it, I'd say 80% is following your inner authority and 20% is going to be influenced by your individual circuitry. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay. How to become a more empowered projector. I'm going to zoom through these and then I'm going to give you some examples. Know that true invitations always come with recognition. I'll talk more about that in a minute. This is another good one to take a photo of and plonk up on your wall if you need these reminders. Or even the next slide, because I'll have some explanations, mini explanations afterwards. Second, practice waiting for invitations to the little things as well as the big things. Now, this one flies contrary to what is often taught for projectors. Ra taught, Karen teaches, lots of other people teach that you only really need to wait for the big things. Now, please do wait for the big things. Wait to be invited into your, main romantic relationship, or any romantic relationship. Wait to be invited to take a new job, or start a new business, or move across the country, or any of those big things. Absolutely wait to be invited. And when I started experimenting and waiting for the little things, like being invited to go to lunch with a friend, or being invited to go along to some kind of social event, or even being invited to speak by my partner about how my day was when he gets home from work, everything works better. And I cannot, if you are fairly new to human design and you are ready to like really grab this human design thing and experiment with it, I strongly recommend that you play with this, like, wait for the little things. Like, Ra taught it as an experiment, of course, because he had experimentation very much in his design, but he had said, this is an experiment. Karen says the same thing. She's, don't take my word for it. Go and experiment. Go and work with the knowledge. Now, if you're totally brand new to human design and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by it all, you don't need to do that straight off the bat. Just get your head around what it means to wait for an invitation. And just start playing with that however you can. But if you're one of those people who said you've been working with human design for 6, 8, 10, 15 years, and you're still not in as much flow as you'd like to be, then I really invite you to play with these nuances. See how many things you can wait for. Okay, and let other people find you. So this is the third big one. You aren't here to go and find your partner. You're not here to find your soulmate. They are going to find you. You're not here to find your next client. They are going to find you. You're not here to go and find your new next best friend. They're going to find you.
That kind of leads in. There's been a couple of questions that I often hear. What does wait to be invited to a new job mean? Or what over here? How can you wait? What would an invitation to seeking new clients? Can you reach out? Or are you meant to literally do nothing and wait for people to reach out to you?
Mm-hmm. Good. Yes. Okay. There will be a section where I talk a bit more about invitation. I think I've got it in the frequently asked questions, so we might wait until there. But I've scribbled down wait for the invitation in my notes here to make sure that we cover it a bit more. Anything else, Cindy?
Well, this is one that I think sometimes projectors might not even think about. Is it rude in a relationship or friendship to never invite them back to things? I started laughing when I.
So here's the thing with human design, and I hear this all the time. It's like students or clients wanting to know, like, what's the answer? What do I do? and I said this to a client the other day. I said, okay, here's my answer of what I think you should do, but here's the probably the more accurate but less rewarding answer is you have to go and take it and go and play with it and work it out yourself, right? Because there is so much of what I do, whether or not it is inviting a friend to do something, or like knowing where exactly is the subtlety of how much do I do versus how much do I rest? And there's only a certain amount that another person, even another projector, can teach you. You have to go and take the knowledge and play with it, because what happens is inside of you, you will develop this sense of like, oh, I'm supposed to go invite that person. Oh, I'm supposed to write that blog post. Oh, I'm supposed to, I get this sense to follow up with that person, right? There's the textbook. There's the, I can write a whole book of like the things to do this, do this, do this. But when it comes to the subtleties, like, do I invite that friend back? Do I invite them to go do that thing? There will be times when you have a sense internally that you're supposed to invite somebody. And the strategy does go both ways. You wait for invitations, but you can invite people. But to know, you know, even if I did a whole long class on waiting for the invitation, there's still only a certain amount I can externally teach you, and you have to go and take it and play with it. And as you play with it, you have to pay attention. Okay, this thing I did it work? Was it clunky? Was it uncomfortable? Was it unnecessarily hard? Or, hey, I did this thing and it worked really easily. It happened really smoothly. And I can't teach you that. You have to take it and play with it and pay really close attention to what happened. My general rule is, if it's hard and clunky and uncomfortable and you feel like you've been ignored or talked over, wasn't the right way to do it. And that's okay. You just take that information, you apply it next time. If it was smooth and easy and a no-brainer and like, oh my gosh, that was so easy, I could do it again every day, then just pay attention to what you did, so then you can do that same kind of thing again next time. Okay, let's move on. So, explanations of these. We talked quite a lot about number 2. The first one, true invitations will always come with recognition. Now, I want you to think about how in social media circles, for example, or in many of you will be coaches, healers, teachers, writers, facilitators of healing, because that's who Karen attracts generally as a community. In the online space, there are so many invitations constantly to all sorts of things. Now, if you are being invited to like somebody's business Facebook page, you're being invited to their masterclass on such and such, where they're going to sell you into such and such, which is no problems. But ask yourself when you get invitations, and again, play with the nuances of this for yourself or wherever you're at in that continuum of your own learning journey. But if you're not being handpicked and invited individually, then you're probably being treated like a number. And if you're being treated like a number, like they just want bums on seats, they just want 100 people in their room, and they don't want you specifically, individually, it's not really an invitation. Now, you might choose to come along, right? You got an email or somehow you found out about this class, and while I can't individually recognize each of you, which I would love to do, you might have chosen to come along to this because you're like, there's something in this for me, right? So you've got to pick. In situations, you will find there are some things that you want to go to that you get, there's like a general invitation. However, when it comes to you being invited into anything in a group context, unless there's some part of you that wants to go individually for your own learning, please recognize the difference between when somebody handpicks you and when you are just being invited to be another number. I hope that makes sense. Okay. The third point on here, let other people find you. I've got there, my partner finding me. And this is a good example because I hustled for so long. I think I had been trying to find a partner since I was a teenager, and it took me until I was 36 or 37 until I finally stopped chasing potential partners. I was so busy trying to get attention, trying to be loved, trying to have somebody else validate that I was good enough, that I was busy hustling and trying to find partners left, right, and center. And I tried every different possible way of doing that. And it was only when I shifted my focus, and human design played such a massive role in this, when I shifted my focus to going, how much can I recognize me? How much can I love me? How much can I value me? And I was willing to just ignore everyone else and just fall in love with me, that I could then sit in my power and sit in my value. And then I attracted somebody who found me, invited me. Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether or not it's in a romantic relationship, in a potential client or student perspective, or like I said, your next friend. If you stand in your power, you are so attractive. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. Okay. Nelson Mandela, great example of an empowered projector. Sure, had a really rough time by being in jail for 27 years. However, notice that he was recognized as a leader, and within 4 years of being released from jail was elected as the president of the country that he lived in. Yeah. So good lesson here. If you're willing to wait for recognition, and not everyone is going to have to spend 27 years in jail to get that recognition, but if you're willing to wait for recognition, Nelson Mandela is a good example of showing you how you might be invited to lead a nation. Okay, how to become a more empowered projector. Follow your inner authority. Follow your strategy and your inner authority. We're going to talk more about strategy. I'm waiting for the invitation. Stop trying to convince other people of anything, and stop trying to prove that you're good enough. Easy to say, but what really helps is to decondition using tools. Now, my favorite tool for doing this is EFT tapping. You've got to find a way of doing it that's really effective. There are various versions of EFT online. There are various types of practitioners and videos. Not all of them are that effective. Make sure that you find somebody to work with who is really effective at what they're doing. And you'll know my rule always with deconditioning or any kind of change work is, if you do work on the inside, you know it works when the things on the outside change. So if you're doing all this work on the inside and you feel like you're making lots of progress, but nothing on the outside changes, then the work isn't working. So you've got to make sure it's effective to make sure it's a good use of your time. Okay, so examples and explanation, following your inner authority. So for me, I am an emotional projector, which means I have to wait for my emotional wave. For me, my general rule is I try and wait 2, 3, 4 days. I tell people I need to sleep on it. And by waiting out my emotional wave, it has saved me so much grief. I cannot tell you. So if you're an emotional authority, please, 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 please do yourself a favor. Tell people, oh, great, thanks for the invitation. I'll get back to you in a few days. You know what? I make my best decisions when I sleep on it for a few days. I'll get back to you on Tuesday. Great. And then just buy yourself some time and sit with whether or not the thing feels true for you. Obviously, there are a handful of different inner authorities if you're a projector. So if you're a splenic, I know there's a lot of splenic projectors on here. The most important thing you need to do as a splenic projector is become as mindful as possible so that you can hear your own and that whisper of your gut, that whisper of your spleen talking to you. So your noisy, busy mind doesn't override it. And of course, pretty much all projectors need to be able to have a space where they can talk out what's true for them. So make sure you've got a space where somebody's not going to give you their great advice. They're just going to listen. Okay. We talked about convincing and proving. The less that I have felt the need to prove and convince, the more attractive I have become to clients and students. When I first started learning about human design, within about 1 year, I was like, I'm not getting anywhere with following waiting for the invitation. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm compulsively trying to chase people all the time. That's the point where I started learning about EFT, emotional freedom techniques. And once I started tapping and cleaning stuff up, I was able to make so much more progress than just with human design alone. So I find that they pair together very, very well. Okay, another example, Serena Williams. Serena is a good example of that you can be a projector and have a physical job and still thrive. Yes, if you know a lot about human design, you'll notice that she has in her conscious sun 46 and in her unconscious sun in Saturn and Jupiter that she also has 46 defined. So obviously she was always going to be quite physical. But it just goes to show again, projectors, when they're healthy and thriving, are really capable of extraordinary things. Okay, personal examples of what it looks and feels like to be an empowered projector. I'll run through these quickly. People find me and I don't always know how they do. People book into my calendar. I'm like, where did this person come from? Which is always fun. But the more that I step into my power, the more this happens. People come out of the woodwork. I'm like, how did they find me? I have to ask. I have to put in my intake form. How did you find me? And I'm always surprised and delighted. More and more people seem to be happily parting them with their money to work with me. That would have totally surprised the heck out of me, the me from 5 years ago. People ask my advice more than ever before. And the more I have a need to give people advice, the more I can go, oh, my advice is valuable, the more attractive I become. It's hilarious. Friends and clients send me referrals. Friends and clients tell me and show me all the time how much they appreciate me. I get like these gorgeous love letters from people all the time. And people respect my no. My people, this will happen for you too. If they're my people and I say no, they don't reject me. They might not love that they didn't get what they wanted, but they don't reject me. They just go, oh, damn it. Okay, well, thanks for telling me whatever was your truth, right? So, if somebody's rejecting you, they were never your people. They were never your people. So I want to know, can you imagine this for you? It is possible. I would never have believed that I would be this level of empowered 5-10 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's extraordinary what happens when you continue to walk yourself along that continuum. Okay, frequently asked questions. And I'm watching the time here, so I better keep moving. What does it mean to actually wait for an invitation? How do I run a business when I have to wait for an invitation? And what if I'm not getting any invitations? These are the 3 most common versions of questions I get from projectors all the time. So let's look at the answer. If there was room on a human design chart, I would change it to say, wait for the invitation should really be called, I'm over here doing something cool. You need to come and get me if you want me because I'm busy being awesome. Now, of course, it wouldn't fit on a human design chart. I hope you're giggling as you read this. But really, what it feels like, and somebody talked about this before, it was one of the questions that had come up. The thing about the word waiting, I was thinking about this the other day when I was waiting for my partner to get home. And I really wanted him to get home because I wanted to talk to him about something. And I noticed that as I was sitting there, I felt anxious in my body. And I was like, this is what waiting feels like. This is like, I'm not present in my reality thinking about the cool thing I could be doing. I'm sitting here anxiously waiting. It was subtle, but I was being really present with my experience. I'm like, waiting doesn't feel good. The act of waiting, I felt anxious. And as soon as I had that awareness, I was like, okay, well, if I go and do what I want to do, and then he arrives in divine timing, I'm off busy being awesome, and he'll arrive whenever he arrives. And that feels totally different. This is totally true for you, whether you are waiting to be invited into an intimate relationship, waiting to be invited by your next client. I want you to chuck the word waiting out the window, and I want you to write down I'm over here doing something cool. You need to come and get me if you want me because I'm busy being awesome. Please write down your version of that, right? Because when we sit in the feeling of waiting, it causes us to feel on some level, some version of anxious, and that's not attractive to partner, clients. I wasn't waiting when my partner showed up in my life. I was busy being awesome, and he was like, oh, I want some of that, right? Seriously. It is the same with any kind of relationship. Different flavor, obviously, but it's the same kind of mechanism with any relationship. Okay, how do I run a business when I have to wait for an invitation? Here's what you do. You study what you love, because projectors are great at studying. You focus on the invitations that you already have received, and you serve those people who already recognize you. And you keep prioritizing self-care, play, and upping your sense of self-worth by using deconditioning tools. Now, if you're not getting invitations, you need to prioritize rest, relaxation, self-care, doing things that feel good and playful. Do the bare minimum of doing required to make your life work, and outsource as much as you possibly can. And when you're feeling more vital and more able to serve your people, they will start inviting you again. I know it's hard if you're burnt out. It's hard if you're bitter. You have to heal you to make you attractive again. Okay, your questions, and then we're going to do key takeaways. I'm aware we're down to about 9 minutes or so. So, Cindy, I'm wondering if when we look at the questions, what patterns have you noticed of the key questions that have been coming up again and again?
I think you actually covered them. There was, I mean, people were just outsource all you can. I really like the reframe of waiting. And I'm not a projector. It's like, oh, that's way cool. But other than that, I brought up the questions before.
Yep, I've got those scribbled down. Yes. Okay. Well, so here I'll start answering some of these questions, and then if you think of something else that needs to be said, then do that. Let's talk about, in no particular order, this thing about regret and bitterness and feeling burnt out. I know I talked about it very briefly, and there was a question as well in the coach forum of like, what do I do if I'm trying to, this is going to be true as well if your question is something along the lines of, but I'm already maxed out, like I'm already doing a full-time job and or I have a child and I'm trying to transition into a business, and you already feel maxed out. What they all have in common, whether you're feeling really bitter or really full of regret or really tired or just like flat out jobbing and parenting, is you feel maxed out, right? And if you are a projector who feels maxed out mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever the case may be, time-wise, the key thing that I want you to think about is, where are my resources? It is totally unreasonable for you to expect yourself to be able to magically do more. You're not a manifesting generator. You're not going to become one. That's not a problem, because if you were supposed to be a manifesting generator in this life, you would be one. The best thing you can do for yourself is think about, where are my resources? Do you have somebody else who can sometimes babysit your kid? Are you in a position financially where you can drop your days at work from 5 to 4 or even 3? Do you have a deconditioning tool, whether it's emotional freedom techniques or it's something else that works? There are so many tools. If you have one that you love, please use it a little bit every day. Just like if you ate a few more veggies every day, if you're a person who is overweight, there's a good chance that over time you can slowly, incrementally improve your diet. or if you're somebody who knew that you, again, let's use the example of weight. Like I do a lot of exercise, so I think about it from that perspective. If you were to walk around the block every day, you don't have to go and run a marathon tomorrow. And it's unreasonable to think that you could, but if you can walk around the block and then do it again tomorrow and do it again tomorrow, do the same thing with your deconditioning tool. Do a little bit every day, because that compounds over time. So that's the key thing I want to say. If you're feeling maxed out as a projector, and a lot of you will be for various reasons, whether that's maxed out with bitterness and regret, or it's just maxed out with work. Where are my resources? And do I have a deconditioning tool that I can use to do a little bit at a time? And if you don't have a deconditioning tool, I want to invite you to do an EFT tapping session with me. I'll put a link up soon. And even if you only do a single session, I can make the session about teaching you how to do really effective EFT on and with and for yourself, so that you can do a little bit each day. Okay, that is the bit I want to say on this. The burnout we've talked about. Launching something new, building a business. What does it look like to wait to be invited as a... Okay, here, if you are launching something new, it's going to work best if you follow strategy and inner authority. And it's the reason that my whole brand is called Human Design Basics. And as much as it can feel like I'm saying the same thing again and again, I would say that 95% of the power of human design comes from deeply understanding your strategy and inner authority and following it. If you don't understand anything about the centers, the circuitry, the profile, the lines, the gates, if you don't understand any of that, but you know how to follow your strategy and inner authority, you've pretty much won the game, because you're automatically going to do and be who you are anyway. So launching something new comes from standing in your value and following your strategy and inner authority. And following your strategy and inner authority becomes so much easier when you're standing in your power. When I looked at the wide variety of questions that I was getting in the lead up to this class, and what it has in common with many of the questions that I know have come through today on this call, more than 90% of them can be resolved by you increasing your sense of self-worth, your self-value, and standing in your power. That's why I call this class Becoming an Empowered Projector, because regardless of whether or not it's struggles parenting, building your business, working out how you're going to do the next class or write the next book or serve the next client, all of it becomes easier as you step into your power and know your worth. And I don't know any other way to do it other than to go and use a deconditioning tool of some description to be able to go and clean up the places that you hold within you where you don't believe that you're powerful. And it pretty much solves almost every problem. Almost. And if there was, for me, if there was, you'll know what your key thing is. And actually you could type it in the comments now. What's your one key takeaway from this class? Because for me, if I could only help you see one thing, it's do whatever you need to do to increase your sense of power. For me, the way I do that is through EFT and other processes to be able to release the places where I think I'm not good enough, release the places where I think I have to be perfect, where I think I have to do it right, where I think I have to convince people or prove things to people or please people. The more I collapse that stuff out of my system, the more I can go, hi, people all around the world, let's do a class together, and I can make this fun instead of feeling like it needs to be perfect. So pop your key takeaways in there. I think we could have spent another hour on questions. So would love to. If you would like my help with that, we can do a one-on-one coaching call. I do coaching that we can look specifically at EFT, at human design or EFT. With some of my clients, I do it as a combination. So coaching with caroline.as.me has the options for coaching if you're not sure what you need, but you know that I'm your projector, you know that you want my help specifically. You can say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is the problem. If you send me a 1-paragraph email and go, yep, I want to work with you, but I don't know which one to do. Then you can just email me and ask. If you are very new and you want more of a explanation of the basics, the beginners courses by type at humandesignbasics.com.au. And I think I've got more. You could take a screenshot if you wanted to of this slide. It's a spot where you can see the stuff I've got on YouTube, the stuff I've got on Insta and Facebook. You can jump on and get my weekly emails. And if you want to invite me to do something cool, like I have lots of ideas for group programs and things I can do. So if you feel like there's something you'd love to invite me to do, you can do that, caroline@carolinesouthwell.com. And I think
that brings us to the top of the hour.
Great. Thank you very, very much, Cindy and Karen, for making this available, and the whole team in the background that have made this opportunity possible. There are a whole bunch of beautiful photos that I used in this presentation. So thank you to all of the people whose photos I used, and thank you to you for doing this work. Thank you for showing up and watching, whether it was live or on the recording. You're important, you're valuable. And the more that you can recognize yourself, the more that you can love yourself and stand in your own value and power, the more attractive you're going to be. And the more that a whole lot of those problems will just automatically resolve themselves, because you love you, and that is attractive. Okay, Cindy, anything else that we need before we jump off?
No, I think that's it. And it's a wonderful thing. And
good.
I want to thank them all for sharing their key takeaways. They were wonderful key takeaways there. Mine was especially your reframe.
Yes.
Yeah, wait for the word waiting. That was one of mine.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you got to come over to me because I'm over here doing something awesome.
Good. Yeah. Now I'll pop in here in the chat just so that people have got links for things, the links that we just talked about, and I'll have a quick read through what people have shared. Cindy, are we able to save that chat so I can have a look afterwards? Is that possible?
Yes, we can. As a matter of fact, if you go and click on the chat, the 3 little buttons on the side will save directly to your computer.
Oh, fabulous. I shall do that. And thank you so much, Cindy. I so wish I could have been in 2 places at once to be able to read everyone's comments, and so sorry that I couldn't see them all. But we can only be in one place at a time, and that's a key thing as a projector, is you can only, and any human, Cindy's a generator and she knows that she can only be in one place at a time as well. So thank you all so very, very much for coming along. And at this point I say goodbye.